Hey everybody, how you doing tonight on YouTube? I'm just dealing with some audio stuff here right now, so just bear with me. I'm having to reboot my system as quickly as I possibly can here because, well, my computer's decided it doesn't want to work properly right now, and I'm getting some garbled audio on the other end, so that is what I am trying to deal with. And of course, I hit my camera. So that's why I'm all of a sudden way the hell over there. And that's even fucking worse. Oh, it's going to be one of these fucking nights here. Of course.
Hello.
All right, how does that sound?
That's good.
Much better?
That's normal, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's normal.
Whew.
Sure.
All right, we are live on YouTube right now, so we'll be live even through the commercial breaks here, and we should give a shout out to everybody who is on there right now because we're talking some serious ghost stuff tonight. Serious ghost stuff. All right, let's give a shout out to Jessica. Thank you for coming on in. Hey, Mark and Double Mark, Rademacher, and Cat Chaser. Space Without Difference. Distance. Cathari, how are you? Patrick, the Noble One, good to see you here. Worsley, always a pleasure. Hey, Vintage, nice beard. Lou Fawn, a pleasure to have you here. What else do we got here? Big Rob, good to have you. Thank you. Lord Ward, always a pleasure. Millennium, thank you for coming in. Game Vet, what the heck? PBR, good to have. Dave does not hate PBR. He just loathes PBR. There's a big difference, man. Big difference. All right. Spookles the Cat is back. Spookles the Cat. Boo, Ghost 66. How are you? Greco, thanks for coming in. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, we're going to get some woo up here tonight, man. I hope your bar is ready. Tammy, good to have you here. Dirty Filth. Jim Christie, Brett Lewis, Kristen, how are you? Hey, there, little Marky Spender. I hope you didn't have too much fun. All right. Who else we got here? There's a bunch of you. I can't catch up right now. Hello, Betty Spaghetti. I can't catch up. There's no way. I'm out of time, man. Out of time. Hey, Bill WD-40, getting ready to lube things up for us. All right, 30 seconds. Bob Cranmer is our guest tonight. We're going to have a good one. Getting into some serious paranormal. All right. All right. We're on in 5 seconds, everyone. Here we go. Let's have a good show tonight. Music is on. Cheers, everybody. From the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, we have them free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. The Demon of Brownsville Road is a real-life tale of Bob Cranmer. The book is claimed to be based on the paranormal experiences of the Cranmer family, with Bob telling the first-person account. Within weeks of moving in, Bob and Lesa began to experience paranormal activity in the house. The first phenomenon they experienced was a pull chain on a light in a coat closet that continuously wrapped itself around the light and would never remain in the hanging position. Soon, other nuances would happen. Yeah, it continued for years, the family choosing to ignore them, accepting that they shared their home with a nasty spirit. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Bob Cranmer, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
I'm fine, Dave. Thank you very much. I always welcome any opportunity to be interviewed and answer questions about our experiences and stories. So thank you very much. And I say hello to all your many listeners across the country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So you believe in ghosts?
Well, I believe in ghosts, certainly. This isn't particularly a ghost story. There's a difference between what we experienced and a haunted house or a ghost, even though initially for years we just thought we shared our house, with the departed, the spirit of someone who had once lived there. Even though I do believe there were ghosts there, ghosts being the disembodied spirits of people who once lived, what we came to discover eventually that it was a demonic entity, a demonic spirit, not a ghost. Big difference between the two. Many times demons will masquerade themselves as ghosts, and they're very dangerous entities to mess around with, so to speak.
Right. So what did you believe in the paranormal before this happened?
Well, I can tell you that what I knew of this whole, and again back in the 80s was before the big paranormal craze and paranormal investigators, which somewhat was initiated with our house. The first group to really, I think, break ground and make paranormal investigation a real interest was that television show Paranormal State, the group
Yes.
from Penn State University, Ryan Buell and his group. Now, they came to our house before they were famous, before they had a television show, and they had what basically amounted to a paranormal club, investigation club, with graduate students and students in Penn State. But they were serious investigators. I mean, they had all the electronics and everything that investigators use in their kit bag, so to speak. And we were already working with the Catholic diocese in Pittsburgh, and we had been going for a year to that point, and the church wanted an outside entity group, so to speak, non-religious and not associated with our family, to come into the house, spend some time, and verify what was taking place there was not normal, that it was paranormal. And again, at that time, there weren't a lot of groups, and some way the church knew of this group at Penn State, and I contacted Ryan Buell, and they came to the house I think initially in January of 19, or not 19, January of would have been 2005 in January and February, and they certainly verified what was going on. A graduate assistant came with them, who has since that time become rather famous as a expert on demonology. His name's Adam Bly. He's written several very popular books on the subject. He actually works now for the Catholic Church. At the time, this was still all new to him as well. So I would say that this, trailblazing group of paranormal investigators really cut their teeth at our house and what they experienced. And I know that Ryan would refer to our case, so to speak, throughout his television series. We had an agreement that he would never go public with the story until I gave him permission to, and he held to that agreement. But he would refer to what had happened in the house in Pittsburgh as the most terrifying experience they ever came across.
All right. And we're going to learn a lot about that experience tonight on this show. But about you, had you had any paranormal experiences previous to this?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't really answer your question. No. I had seen the movie The Exorcist like many, and was familiar with the Amityville horror and things like that. But as far as having any interest in ghosts or anything like that, no, none, zero whatsoever. And, I've heard ghost stories and things like that, but my wife and I had no experience with it whatsoever. And, when it first began to occur, when that incident with the pool chain occurred about 3 weeks after we moved into the house, and we both came to the conclusion that she wasn't doing it and I wasn't doing it, and our 4 children, which were ranged in ages from like 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn, they certainly weren't doing it. We came to the conclusion that we were sharing the house with some type of a spirit. We didn't think it was malevolent, so to speak, or dangerous. Eventually that proved us wrong. But so to answer your question, no, I had no experience with the paranormal, and it's still something I don't particularly like to be involved in, even though I understand it. I know how to deal with it. I don't seek it out. I don't belong to any groups or anything. I'll certainly refer people who come to me to the right places to get help. But I it's kind of like being in war. You just want to leave that experience behind you, and you don't want to get involved with it again.
Did you have any preconceived notions or warnings about the house you were purchasing that it was haunted?
Well, we did during the sales process. Even though my wife had a feeling at the time she told me, she said, there's something about that house that kind of gives me the creeps. I just don't know what it is. Can't put my finger on it, but it's like the house has a personality, and it's taking us in, so to speak. And I discounted it. I said, because I had known this house since my childhood, and my goal and my desire as a child was always just to go into the house and see what it looked like. I mean, most people in the area, that's, they look at this house, it's a historic landmark, and everyone kind of wants to go in and look at it. So when we were buying the house, I guess it was when we were first there, we had two of our children with us, our daughter and our son, one of our sons who were, as I said, 3-year-old and 4-year-old. Our son was 3. And we were in the basement looking at this gigantic furnace. It's kind of like a nuclear reactor, and one of the old original gas furnace in the house. And my wife looked around and noticed our 3-year-old son wasn't with us, and they realized he was upstairs somewhere. So my wife and the woman of the house who was showing us the house, I was with her husband, went up to find him. There's a big staircase in the foyer that goes up to a landing and then reverses back up to a balcony that goes around the second floor. And our son was on that landing halfway up the staircase, and he was hyperventilating when they found him. And the woman rushed forward and embraced him and said, "Oh, honey, what's wrong? Did you see something?" My wife right away heard that, and like, what do you mean? Did he see something? So that probably is what really prompted her comment to me later. This place gives me the creeps. So I later probably I would say the second thing that really got my attention was that when I made an offer to buy the house, I knew what they were asking, and I knew how much money we had, and so on. And when you make an offer, you always make an offer that's well below what you're prepared to pay. So I did that, and I was surprised when he held his hand out and said sold. Like they wanted to sell this house, and they had this kind of odd way about them, especially the woman, where she wanted to leave, but she was like angry that she was leaving. So I later asked the guy, I said, Jim, they were an Irish family, and I said, Jim, he went by Seamus, is there anything wrong with this house? And you would have thought he would have asked me to clarify that question. Well, what do you mean by wrong? Is mechanically, structurally, but right away he knew exactly what I was referring to, and his response kind of startled me because he said, "We've had mass in the living room several times." Well, I was raised Catholic. I wasn't Catholic at the time. We were evangelical Christians, but I knew that mass isn't something that the church takes on the road. I mean, it's in a church, unless it's, in wartime or something, but they don't take mass to the house. They'll take communion to the house, but not an entire mass unless it's used I've later found out, in like a spiritual cleansing or an exorcism or some such thing. So his response to me that they had mass in the living room was somewhat startling. Now, years later, when we had mass on every floor in the house, including the basement and every bedroom and throughout the house, more times than I could ever count, I understood that they had most likely attempted to deal with the issue and probably finally just gave up and sold the house and moved out, and sold it to an unsuspecting young couple with 4 little children, and probably just hoping that things went well for us, which they didn't, but nonetheless, that's what happened.
How did your kids react?
Well, initially, as they were young, and through their early years, it was hardly, all the time. I'd wake up in the morning. Well, let me just back up just a moment. One of our sons, our oldest son, you imagine these rooms, these big rooms with 9.5-foot ceilings and fireplaces, and they're big rooms, big Victorian house. And he had this one giant bedroom all to himself, and he would not sleep in the bed. He had a big double bed. Here he is, a 3-year-old, and not long out of a crib, and he's got this big bed. And he would sleep in the closet at night. There was a light in the closet. He'd have the light on, and he would sleep in the closet on the floor. And my wife finally got a crib mattress and put it on the floor. And I would say probably, for months, he slept on the floor in that closet, wouldn't sleep in the bed. And eventually he did. And as he got older, he was able to relate to us, a lot of strange things that he experienced as a little boy. And it affected him. It affected his personality to a great extent. He became a very introverted, somewhat dark personality as he grew older. And I believe it was from being in that room during his childhood, because he's much different than the other children. But as they grew up, and they would tell me about things that they would experience, primarily at night, knocking on doors and scratching on walls and noises and so on. And many times it was a common thing to wake up in the morning and at least 3 of them would be in bed with us. I would always discount it, even though I knew, because I experienced the same things, that it was real. And as they grew older, it was hard to mask it anymore. So we just kind of all realized we lived in a haunted house, and they would have sleepovers, and their friends would discover, through different things that would happen in the house at night. It was a kind of an exciting place to visit. A lot of them would never come back again, but nonetheless, the kids experienced that. I didn't realize at the time. I just thought it was kind of benign, but it was affecting all of us mentally. It was working on us from day one, because this was not a ghost. It was an evil spirit that wanted to hurt us. And it did. It affected us all mentally. And, we can get into it a little bit later, but it was very serious. I mean, resulting in hospitalization and, psychiatric care and so on.
Okay, so at one point, and we're going to get deep into this, and we only have, I'm going to say, about 4 minutes here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour, Bob. When did you start first noticing strange happenings?
Well, I mean, as I said, right away with that pull chain thing. And then, you'd come down. I know the one thing that sticks out in my mind, down in that big furnace room, it was kind of one of the rooms in the basement. I had a workbench in there and so on. And I eventually, because the house is so big, and there was several tons of coal left in the coal room. I guess when they had converted to gas, they forgot to tell the coal company, and there was coal delivered. So I eventually put in a wood burner, coal burner furnace to assist in heating this giant house. I mean, the gas bill was akin to someone else's mortgage payment, and I would come down in the morning all the time, and I had a radio in that room. The radio would be playing. Many times the light would be on, and there was a chair I had in that room that mysteriously was always placed, turned around, facing that wood burner. for whatever reason. Now later on, I talk about it in my book, about who used to do that and why. But then, I'd find out that, I'd discover, the faucets would be turned on, or television would be turned. A lot of it stuff with electronics, things would just be not as they should be. Years later, it became real serious after a time, but things would fly off the table onto the floor and things like that. And you just kind of got used to it. And, again, I'm not realizing until years later what we were really dealing with when it kind of exploded in my face. We just lived with it.
The children, though, were they safe outside of your boy who was, starting to change, get a little bit anxious and a little bit angry? Was it just the one child, or were the other children affected too?
No, they were all, well, my daughter, not as much, but my three sons definitely were. Now, at the time, I just thought it was, they were rambunctious boys that, that was just who they were. But as time went on and it became much more serious, and the family became very dysfunctional, and, there was fighting and a lot of disruptive behavior. And I mean, it got bad. I mean, I had two of my sons eventually ended up in psychiatric hospitals, and the police were involved in different things by the time they were teenagers. And some might say, well, everyone has disruptive children. Well, that is the case, but I can say that when you add all the paranormal events that were going on in the house that were in fact happening, and then the dramatic personality changes that they underwent, they're all, normal adults today, even though one of my sons, we did lose him several years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
A tragedy. Yeah, but nonetheless, they'll all speak to what it was like and how it affected them. And my one son, Bobby, who was the one that I referred to before, he still, has a real edge to him. He's kind of angry about having gone through what he went through. And he himself is interviewed on shows and so on, and I've heard some of his interviews, and he's not a happy camper about it. He's actually, a picture of him is on the front of my book. It's a little boy standing in front of the house. It's a very ominous picture. It looks like the house is ready to swallow him up.
Wow. Bob, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Bob Cranmer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, and I'm telling you, we're going to get deep into the Demons of Brownsville Road. You can find the book on Amazon. Highly suggest you do. Yes, let's learn about demons coming up here on the Mighty SOR. All right, there we go. First half hour down. 5 minutes here, Bob. 5 minutes.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's
man.
Fine, I'm good.
Good stuff.
Yeah, you're good. You ask good questions.
Well,
that keeps it flowing. Well.
Thank you. I kind of do my best, and and it's the iced tea, man. It's the iced tea.
Yeah. British Columbia, I've since, after I referred to our son actually committed suicide.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Ago, and it really, ended up, my marriage ended and so on. Anyway, my new fiance will be getting married here in a few months, and she's from Seattle.
Oh, nice.
And spent a lot of time up in British Columbia, because you could drink at 18 up there, I guess.
19.
19. Okay, whatever.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough. She used to head to British Columbia all the time.
Oh, it's a good place. It's a good place, man. Yeah, I live I live about 5 hours from the border, from the Washington State border.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh wow! So you're up a ways.
Yeah, I'm up there, but it's kind of cool. Chris is asking.
It's a long way from Quebec.
Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah, you're looking at 3,800 miles.
It's like a different country.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Let's see here. All right, Chris in YouTube, have I slept? Yes, I did sleep, except today I forgot to eat lunch, and so I ended up with a migraine, and got home from my daytime job and crashed out for a little bit, had a hot shower, covered up my eyes for a little bit, and then my daughter's car broke down, so then she had to rip Dad a new one because she was angry. So then, yeah, it's been a brutal evening, but that's okay. I'm being saved here by Mr. Bob Cranmer. My daughter goes and buys a vehicle without my permission, and now it's my fault it's breaking down.
It's your fault.
It's my fault it's breaking down.
Oh, yeah, naturally.
Right. Yeah. So I told her mother, I said the $1,200 bill I just covered in the to repair her vehicle, she could pay that back now.
Yeah.
Yes, because, when you go buy a vehicle, it's never worth listening to Dad to say, get the vehicle inspected before you purchase it. I mean, that's horrible advice. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. Too much trouble.
Yeah.
And then something goes wrong. Why is this happening? Why is this happening?
Oh, tell me about it. Oh, my God. I just told her to shut up and I hung up on her. And I never talk to my daughter that way. Never. Pissed me off. But.
Yeah, I bet. How old is she?
She's 17. So she knows it all.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she knows it all, right? So. Yeah. But that's okay. She's a good kid. She gets good grades. Yeah. She's going to go far.
Oh, boy. So you got a big following on this show?
Not a bad sized one. We're on 6 terrestrial radio stations. We got a huge internet crowd. Our YouTube crowd is growing. Like our chat room and our YouTube crowd right now is about 98 people. Yeah. It's not too bad.
I know later this week I'm on some show out of New Orleans. I can't remember the name of it, but there was a TV documentary was released a few weeks ago. Very good, produced by Buffalo University, called "There's No Such Thing as Ghost," and it's on like Amazon Prime and Apple TV and so on. And my story was central to this documentary, and it's from that this interview came. So
nice. All right, 1 second here. Cable guy Matt has shown up. My cable guy. So we have to remind people right now that you can get your free piece of coaxial cable courtesy of cable guy Matt. Limit 2 per household. You cannot buy these in stores, people. Remember, they are autographed by cable guy Matt too. So there you go. Make sure you pick them up today. Hit up cable guy Matt. No returns, no refunds. All right, we got about 20 seconds. Literally, my cable guy is always in my audience. So, he's out baling hay tonight. Oh, that's a good workout, cable guy Matt. Good workout. All right, here we go with the second half hour, Bob.
Okay.
Paul, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you could check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with author Bob Cranmer. He's got a book about what it's like to live in a house full of hauntings. Yes, it is a great story called The Demon of Brownsville Road. We're going to check that out with Bob right now. Bob, welcome back.
Thank you. I must say, what's unique about our story, and I think what makes it a very interesting book to read and understand, and I do watch and have watched over the years a lot of these paranormal programs, and I swear with some of them in Paranormal Investigators, it sounds like they read my book and they almost parrot some of the things I say in the book when referring and describing at least the demonic. But what makes it I think interesting, it's one, the issue was dealt with. It wasn't like, say the Amityville Horror that, took about 2 weeks and the family fled. This took over 2 years of a real battle. And I say day to day, week to week, it was like living with the invisible man. And it finally, after a long slog, a long battle, was brought to a successful conclusion. And I also, with the priests involved and so on, I had been a military intelligence officer in my younger years, and I did a lot of investigation, and I discovered a lot of facts, and I think I pieced together the story of not only the house, but how this house possession and how possibly and why it came to be. And so there's a lot to learn. It's a complete story, probably one of the most complete stories you would ever read. And again, it also attests to the power of God. I came through this. I started out as a believer, but I can tell you that having experienced the supernatural firsthand, and I'm not saying just like somebody, having one experience that they refer to. I'm saying living this day in, day out, every day, different things happening, and it almost, it became routine. One of the incidents to anyone would be, hair raising, but we just came to deal with it on a routine basis. And you come out the other end of that, my faith is not faith anymore. Faith is faith, hoping and kind of being pretty sure something is true. I mean, I know this stuff is true. I know that the God and the devil and demons and Jesus, and it's all true. And people can, they can discount, oh yeah, he's some kind of a religious kook. No. Tell me all about science and how science has everything figured out. No, it doesn't. This is true. The supernatural is real. Demons and angels and everything, just like you learn as a kid, is all true. And I can attest to it. I've lived it.
Bob Cranmer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. There's a lot of people out there who will say, that you're doing this for 15 minutes of fame, that you're doing this to make it sound years later that it was worse than what it was like. For your critics out there who, like you said, who will say maybe you've turned into a religious nut or that you're blowing this up just to try and make a buck. I mean, the paranormal community always wants to bite their own when their own gets a little bit of popularity. What's it like to live through that?
Well, it's interesting. My life, apart from this, not being involved in the paranormal or having any interest in it, I'm a relatively well-known figure, not only in the Pittsburgh area, but in Pennsylvania. I was a high-level politician. I was a chairman of the Allegheny County Commissioners here in Pittsburgh. In Pennsylvania, that's probably one of the three most powerful positions. I mean, our county had a budget larger than probably 15 different state budgets. I mean, it's a big organization. I've built two major league sports stadiums, a football stadium and a baseball park and a convention center. And, I've done and accomplished a lot. Well-known figure, I would say respected, did a good job as a politician, former Army officer. I've kind of done it all. And then to kind of put that reputation on the line and just come out of the blue with a book like this. And you think, okay, what do I really have to gain? I can tell you that when you write a book and a pub like Penguin Random House published it, it's sold very well for a number of years. It's still in the upper 1% on Amazon and so on. But, you don't make a lot of money. I make $1 on every book. So I'm not getting rich on this book. I don't have anything really to gain. The reason I wrote this book is because it happened. It's true. And when you come through an experience like that, and you have this knowledge, and I just had to, I kept a diary through the whole 2.5 years. In fact, a friend of mine who was then mayor of Pittsburgh, he's the one who went to the diocese, to the bishop, to request help for me. So he's the one who said, listen, once this begins, and again, I thought maybe that the priests would come to the house and, do their thing with the can of smoke and so on, and it would all be over. Kind of like calling a plumber to your house to fix a problem. Right. I didn't know it was going to take over 2 years. But Tom said to me, Tom Murphy, 3-term mayor of Pittsburgh, he said, you gotta keep a record of this. Keep a record. Well, I ended up with 350 pages of notes, and when I was done and it was over, he said, you got to write a book. Well, how do you write a book? I wrote the book. It took me, I guess I started it in 2007. It was finally published in 2014. Finding a publisher and going through that process was as difficult as exercising the demon. I mean, I think 1 in 1,000 books makes it to a publisher. But anyway, so I put this story out there, but it surprised me because I didn't realize I had been out of politics for almost 15 years when it was published, and my credibility as a politician, many of the people that knew me, and so many people knew me, it kind of had the opposite impact from what I expected. They said, this guy, we know this guy. We know he's not a nut. And so as far as my 15 minutes of fame, listen, I don't need 15 minutes of fame. I was famous enough without this book. And I again, not a national figure, but I accomplished a lot in my career to be proud of. So I certainly didn't need to write a book about my house being possessed, nor did I want to, but I had to because it was true. And it's almost become somewhat of a ministry for me because my story is not only the story now that this stuff is true and what we experience and how scary it was and everything. There's so many young people out there today that are so interested in the paranormal because even though they don't go to church, they know nothing about God, they don't know anything about religion, there's something inside them that tells them there's something more. You don't get born, you just aren't born, you die, and that's it. There's another spiritual component, and they're searching. I think that's why the paranormal is so alluring to young people, because they're searching. Well, I've had more than one read my book and say, you know what? I bought your book to get scared to death, but it's given me a different perspective on life because now I kind of get it. So if that's something that I accomplished through the writing of this book, is to give these young people some insight, that's good.
Bob Cranmer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Bob, before all this happened, what did you know about demons?
Well, I'm a Christian, and there are many stories, at least in the New Testament, many of Jesus encountering evil spirits and casting them out, and not only Jesus but his disciples, and situations where they even talked to Jesus, and so I knew about that. That people can be possessed with demons, and AKA the movie The Exorcist, which is based on a true story. And I also knew from reading the Bible that there's the book of Genesis, it talks about a great revolt that took place before the creation of the world, I guess, between Lucifer, who was the first among the angels, and God. And and 1/3 of the angels at the time, whatever number that was, rebelled against God. There was a war, and they were cast out of heaven. And the Bible said they weren't cast to hell, they were cast down to the earth, where the earth became the abode of the demonic. And the devil is referred to as the prince and the power of the air. I truly believe that a lot of the UFO phenomenon, the sightings and all that, I believe it's demonic. So the devil is the perpetrator, is the initiator of evil in the world. I mean, true evil in the world, not, beyond, evil intentions of people, but evil exists. You only have to look, not even hardly a generation ago. You look at probably one of the most sophisticated, educated, culturally advanced, scientifically advanced countries the world has ever known, in Germany, in the early 20th century. The home of Einstein and Bach and Beethoven and everything, and for Sigmund Freud and within a couple of years, this advanced society taking people and putting them in ovens and gassing them and killing them. I mean, you had industrial genocide. How does that happen? That's just not a character flaw. That's evil. That is evil. And when you look at ISIS and, the Twin Towers being blown up, that's evil. Evil is real. It exists, and it's satanic.
Mm-hmm. All right. So as you were learning about this, when did you start noticing the demonic activity inside your house?
Well, when things started flying through the air, literally, things became dangerous, so to speak. I could tell it was no longer the kind of the playful or non-threatening type things. I think what got my attention first was one day I came home from work, and my wife was in the kitchen, and she had laid out on the countertop were all these shards of plastic. And I said, what's this? So I looked at it closely, and it was a music CD. It was probably in about 25 pieces, just like a plate had been shattered. And I said, what's this about? And what happened was my son was in his bedroom after school, and the door was closed. He was in that, and this is the son that slept in the closet and in that famous room. And he heard a loud pop, almost like a light bulb breaking in the corner of the room, and or one of those air guns that we used to have when we were kids, loud pop.
Right.
And he heard something whiz right by his head and hit the wall. And it was this plastic compact disc music CD. And one of those CDs is they're pretty durable. I mean, to try to even break one of them in half, you'd have to really exert some force. And if I took one and threw it against even a brick wall, it probably would only chip it or crack it. This thing hit the plaster wall with such velocity that it shattered like a plate and went right by his head. And if it had hit him, it probably would have killed him. When that incident happened, I knew this is dangerous. It's a dangerous situation, and I need to take some action. But that's the famous question: who are you going to call? What are you going to do? It's not like I could, these paranormal investigators that claim to know what they're doing. Some do, some don't. But I did know just from my own experience in movies that the Catholic Church claimed to have a handle on this stuff. And eventually that's where I ended up with the Catholic Diocese of Pittsburgh.
Did you have a lot of paranormal teams come in?
No, the only team that came in actually was, Ryan Buell. The first time they came, right. they brought about 10 people with them. 2 of them left after the first night. They came back again with a lesser amount, but no, they were the only ones we called upon. Who came on a regular basis. There were 3 priests that I worked with. They later brought in a famous exorcist from New York City, James LaBar, who's known for writing books and being interviewed on TV over the years and so on. But they were primarily priests who came on a regular basis. They would come to assist. They would come to direct me as to what to do. And there was a kind of a whole ritual I would go through on a daily basis to confront this thing. It became almost like a trench warfare. Who could last longer? Because after a period of time, we discovered things that we could do to make it kind of existence in our house as miserable as it was trying to make ours.
Okay, you got to go into. We've got about 5.5 minutes here. You got to go into detail about that. So
these things thrive when they can scare you to death, and they're always doing things to let you know that they're there, they were there, to kind of creep you out. Initially, I'd wake up in the morning and, I'd lay change on my dresser, and I'd wake up in the morning and all the change would be standing on end, on the dresser. I remember one time I woke up at night, I was in bed, but I was completely turned around in bed. My feet were on my pillows. I was under the blankets. I hadn't gotten out of bed. I was completely turned around in bed. It would leave these puddles of this, like, initially it looked just like blood red puddles in the bathroom, on the floor, in the hallway, on the hardwood floor. And then it changed. And it was an orange-like substance. After a while, I told you I'd go through this long litany of prayers and different things. There was a whole confrontation I would have with this thing in a particular room every night for a number of months, but I can get to that. But I would go to bed at night praying the rosary. And every single morning I would wake up, and I would always fall asleep praying the rosary, and I would wake up, and that rosary, for those that are familiar with rosary beads, little beads, 50 beads or so, connected by like a little chain links, those links would be pressed together. So it was no longer a one big loop. The links would be pressed together, so it would be impossible to pray the beads in order. And every morning, and then I would have to I had little jeweler pliers. I'd have to take them apart, bend them back together again, and it was endless. No matter what rosary beads I used, it always would happen. And then if I happened to sleep someplace else out of the house, I'd take the rosary beads with me. I'd wake up in the morning, they would be fine. It only happened in the house. And then I'd find rosary beads where, they would be broken. One time the cross on the beads, it was a silver cross. It came from a shrine called Medjugorje in Europe. It was like a dog had chewed the cross like a toothpick. We all wore gold crosses at the direction of the priests that were involved, and my kids always, they'd wake up, the crosses would be gone. We would find them under the bed. Remember one time Bobby in his room, we found his cross between the mattress and the box springs. Or they would be bent completely in half and broken. So things that, it would desecrate these objects. And then it eventually went on to, I guess, the piece de raison, whatever you say, the crowning thing that it did. I think when it was kind of claiming victory because we were ready to give up, it started to cover the walls with blood. And when I say blood, we had it tested. It obviously wasn't real blood, but it certainly looked like blood. And it started on the third floor, made its way eventually down to the first floor. And for those that are familiar with the application of holy water by a priest, they have a vessel that holds the water, and then there's an instrument that it throws it out in big droplets. If you can imagine doing that with blood on all the walls and the ceilings, it covered the inside of the house with this blood-like substance, claiming it for evil.
Well,
and people listen to me and say, "This guy's."
That's just
no, and again, they said, I have pictures. I had it tested by different laboratories, and I still have some of the wallpaper because we had to replace it all. I still have some of this stuff, and yeah, I did my due diligence on it, but it happened.
All right. And, yeah, of course. Bob, I'm going to get you to hold right there, because when we come back, I want to find out why you stayed in the house, man. I mean, it's real simple. You got demons. You got to get out.
Yeah.
You got to get out, but you stayed for a while.
It's a good question. I get it all the time, and I have an answer for you.
All right. Bob Cranmer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking about The Demon of Brownsville Road. You can find the book on Amazon. Highly suggest you do. We're going to find out. Why the hell did he stay in his house? Yeah, coming up on Spaced Out Radio next. All right, my friend, we got about 6 minutes. I'm going to quickly run my dogs outside, okay?
That's fine.
Be right back.
Have a good time.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks, I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts...
2 minutes.
What kind of dogs you have?
I got 2 dogs. I got a German Shepherd and a German Shepherd Cross.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're getting older, though, so I got to make sure I take them out at night, too.
Yeah. We have a little Bichon Shih Tzu that's, they call him a teddy bear. It's the cutest thing you'd ever want to see in your life. He's a teenage puppy, you know. He's just great.
Oh, wonderful. All right, my friend, 90 seconds.
Okay.
And go from there. All right. How we doing, YouTube? We having fun? We enjoying tonight? I am. Love stories like this. All right, final commercial. Ten seconds. And music's about to come on. Music is on.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Mnemonics. Mnemonics is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as a clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. On Twitter, follow us at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We welcome back tonight, great guest, Bob Cranmer. He is the author of a great book that he lived, The Demon of Brownsville Road. We're going to learn about this from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area coming right up here. Bob, I got to ask you, as we kick off this hour, why did you live there for so long?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'll answer in just a moment, but I want to make a comment. You know, and I look at what I went through and how long it took and the determination that I had to see it through. I think in a way I was somewhat, this whole situation that we experienced was somewhat divine providence. I think I was somewhat prepared for it because this story is I think it will continue. It's not going away. It has a real message to it. There's been multiple television programs about it. Warner Brothers bought the rights to it. If they make a movie, I don't know, but it's famous, and people who read the book on Amazon, every book has a rating, 5-star rating, 2-star rating, 1-star rating, depending on how much they like it. I would say that the book has a 4 or 5-star rating, probably up about 75% of the people think it's the best book, tremendous, just rave reviews, couldn't put it down, great book, great story, so on. And then all the rest of them, many of them, it's like, this guy's the biggest jerk. I couldn't even get through the first 4 chapters of it because he's so egotistical and such a jerk. Well, I think it's important to understand the question is to understand me and why, my background and my experience and my military experience and my childhood experience and everything that I kind of went through in preparation for this really an epic battle that took place, to understand me as an individual. And I think any intelligent reader that likes a good novel and likes to understand things gets it. Whereas someone that I just want to be scared to death. I just want to read the scary story, and I'm 3 chapters into this, and there's no mention of a ghost, so I'm not even going to continue. And this guy's a jerk. I went through this. One, my personality is such that, we bought this house. I always wanted this house. It was our home. My personality just isn't one to run, to say, oh, we got to leave because there's an untenable situation and we're being forced out. With that, too, that was our problem. I know what was given to us, and morally, I didn't think it right that we just put it on the market and sell and slink off into the night and hope whoever bought it, got through it or didn't have the same problems that we did. But I think most importantly, I had a faith in God that ultimately evil can be overcome by good. God can defeat evil. I believe that. If I had anything to do over again, I would not have kept my family in it as long as I did. It damaged them, at least during the battle part of it. It was just, but I thought, I can't give an inch. I can't give an inch. But there's one coming out the other end of it. My kids. I still do a lot of television and political commentary, and I look very similar, if not could be the brother of that Dos Equis guy, the most interesting man in the world. And when I go on TV, the one host always calls me the most interesting man in Allegheny County, and he knows about my book, and I always quip and I say, ghosts tell stories about him. So it was an experience that it was a battle. I got to the point with this demon where I would talk to it. We understood each other, and we would wrestle spiritually. And it wasn't going to give up. I think in the hierarchy of demons, I wasn't dealing with some run-of-the-mill poltergeist. They're organized in a kind of a military rank. This was powerful, and it wasn't going to let go. Even after the official exorcism, it was still there. And it took a couple more months before it finally left. And so that's the answer to the question.
Okay, so my next question would be, how did you get to know this? How did you communicate with it? Like you said, you almost started having a mutual respect for each other.
Well, it would make its presence known in different ways. Sometimes it would manifest itself in a form that a bodily form, always kind of demented. Sometimes a black cloud. A number of times it was reported even by friends of my children, kind of like the Grim Reaper, black, kind of like a black hooded creature, or wearing a black dress. But with me, and not only me, I mean, there were a number of people that experienced this, but it would emit this really foul stench when you were in its presence. And it was like akin to kind of like an electric burning rubber smell. Sulfuric. The smell would actually stay in my nostrils. It was so pungent. And it would not like permeate an entire room. You could only smell it like someone that had really bad breath or really bad body odor. You can smell it when you're standing right next to them. So I would smell it when I was right near it. And there were a couple of rooms we had to move the furniture out of because you couldn't stay in the rooms. And the one master bedroom had no furniture in it. And this thing would always wait for me in that room, 7 o'clock, 7:30 at night. It would wait for me in that room. Sometimes my wife would accompany me, and I would literally kind of chase it around the room, hitting it with holy water. We would recite the rosary openly, vocally, back and forth to each other. It would have candles and all that stuff. And many times it would always just end up being me and it. And the struggle would always be for me to get it to leave that room, just to command it finally, and it would leave the room. On a number of occasions, I finally would leave the room. So I would talk to it the whole time, and this became a daily, nightly occurrence. There were other times that, I remember one time I came home from work and, I worked where I wore a suit and a tie every day to work, and I wore starched white shirts, and I'd come home and take off that shirt and hang it on a clothes tree before I take it back to the cleaners. And one night I went and I looked at one of my shirts hanging, and it had a streak of red blood right down the back of the shirt. And, I looked at it and I knew the thing was there. I said, what did you do? It had already been putting this stuff on the walls. I said, what did you do that for? It was almost comical. I said, I'm not impressed. I'm not scared. And, we had a direct conversation, and I would always, preface my conversations, not that I was commanding it. It was always in the name of Jesus Christ and the power of his blood and cross, that we will not leave this house no matter what. We're not going to give up this house to you. You are going to leave. And once it couldn't scare us anymore, once it knew it, I think it drew energy from our fear. And once we began to combat it, and how we did that, how I did that was through various prayers, various rituals. Hated holy water, absolutely hated holy water. And another thing it hated was the movie, the Passion, Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. There was another room, my son's one bedroom that I referred to. It was vacated of furniture as well. I played that movie for about 6 months straight on a loop, where it played 24 hours a day. And I'd come home and the TV would be turned off. The DVD would be turned off. The DVD, the thing would be opened up. It hated that movie. It hated that movie because it was anathema to what it stood for, evil, and Christ's victory over evil. So those were the types of things that we did on a continuous basis, along with the priest coming on a regular basis, blessing the house, saying the rosary in the house, saying the mass in various rooms of the house. It was just a continuous continuous pressure to force it out, and it knew it wasn't going to scare us out, which was its goal.
Okay, so as you were starting to get used to this, a lot of people would probably ask you this following question. How did you build up this personal strength to not be able to have any effects with it? I mean, especially with young children in the house.
Well, my children weren't young anymore. They were teenagers by this point. My daughter was married, and for a time in the beginning, her and her husband and young son lived on the third floor, which was like a separate apartment, servants' quarters, so to speak. And this thing accosted my grandson one day. They were on the third floor, and my wife and I were in the kitchen down the first floor. And the house was so big, my daughter would actually call my wife on the telephone down in the kitchen from her place on the third floor. And she said, I'm going to send Colin down. He was 2 years old, 2.5 years old, little kid at the time. Sending him down. And I remember sitting in the back of the house in the kitchen and hearing this loud gasping for air. And I ran up the second floor and found my grandson there, just as he had seen a ghost, had seen something, and was just hyperventilating. And after that, I moved him and my daughter and her husband out of the house and rented a place for them. But the other one stayed, which wasn't good. I wouldn't have done that again, but at the time I did, and it had some bad impacts on them, and unfortunately, as I said, we lost one of them. I wrote this book. My life hasn't been exactly carefree since the book was published. It's kind of like writing a book about the mob, and I lost a son. My marriage ended, but you're going to leave war with scars, and I just have to accept it for what it is.
Very understandable. I mean, was this thing ever physical with you or members of your family?
Well, yeah, it not only me, but it would push you down the steps. And when I say push you down the steps, it wouldn't like push you from your back. Your legs would all of a sudden sweep out from under you, and you would just fly down the steps on your back. And I know my wife had a back injury. That happens fairly early in our time in the house, and she came down, the steps relatively hard. My daughter happened to. I would wake up. The kids would wake up. Primarily me, though. I would have scratches all over my body. Odd, I can remember scratches that started under my right ear on my neck, went down from my ear diagonally across my chest to my stomach. Now, I had on pajamas that were buttoned up, so I could see the scratches on my neck, but then I had to open up my shirt to see the scratches across my chest. So how that would happen, they would generally always be in three, and they would be very fine, almost like a cat, very fine. Sometimes they bled. Many times they were just really red and raised, and very long, not just a little scratch of, a couple inches. It would go all the way down your arm or down your back. I know both my wife and my one son were actually bitten, where you could see marks where it looked like a dog had bitten them. So yeah, I think these things have rules that though they have to abide by. Certainly, if it was permitted to kill us, it would have. But I don't think they have the ability to do that. But they can affect you physically. Certainly, can affect you mentally as well. And that's the most dangerous part.
When did it start to reveal that you had built up your strength towards this? I mean, you would think, just looking at it from an outside perspective, that the more you tried to ignore it and fight back, the stronger it would get, because it would be getting pissed off that its effects are no longer affecting you.
Yeah, the first year was pretty much it having its way with us, and certainly we would like, what's going to happen next? And all the furniture moved around, pictures on the wall. I have a lot of art would be turned sideways on the wall. You have the pictures in your bedroom at night. You wake up in the morning and they're hanging sideways on the wall, and things that it was there when you were sleeping. It really kind of creeps you out, certainly. And I'd say, I can remember the first time I talked to the priest, and it was kind of like the movie The Matrix, the red pill and the blue pill, for those who remember that movie. He said, you have a choice. You can sell your house and move away, and leave this problem to somebody else, and hopefully it'll be okay, or you can stay and fight, and we will fight with you. We will help you. And I thought, well, okay, what does that mean? And then he said, in a year, we'll know if we're making progress. This is a very powerful demon. And he had this source of information, a Christian mystic who I never knew about her existence all through the process. I really didn't find out about her until I started writing my book. and they revealed her to me. But he would have all this information about the house. It was almost like he had a file on the house. He knew the layout of the house, knew, the colors of the wallpaper in different rooms. And this particular priest never was at the house. And so when he said it's going to take, in a year, we'll know if we're making progress. And a year from that point, we weren't making any progress, and we were about ready to give up. And it got so bad, I kind of felt like, Rocky being knocked down in the ring and scrambling to pull himself back up again. And then my wife and I just determined at the time, no, we're going to see this thing out, see it through. And then that was right about the time the Paranormal State people came. And I have to tell you, they broke that wide open. They did some stuff when they were there that was pretty wild. They came with some information and that really helped us, was very helpful. And from that point forward, I knew that we could strike back at this thing. And once I kind of realized that I could fight back, that eventually we would win.
So how long was this entire episode from the time you moved in until the time you left? Well, no, I still live I still own the house. I still own the house today. We moved in the beginning of 1989. It didn't get really bad. Things got bad during the 1990s. I was in politics then for a whole number of years. It was working on my wife at one point. She's at that point in time, she's like 34 years old, and she has a full-blown nervous breakdown that required her to go to a psychiatric hospital for several weeks. Like, why did that happen? A number of years after that is when, the CDs and stuff were flying through the air, and the family was in total disarray. And I really lay it out in the book how crazy it got. So it really began in 2003, the battle, so to speak, the end of 2003, and finally concluded in the early months of 2006. So really 2 solid years, 2004 and 2005, we put up with this consistently. Were you ever, and we only got about 30 seconds here, and just tease me with this, were you ever able to find out the identity of the ghost?
Well, yeah, it wasn't a ghost now. Remember, it wasn't a ghost. There were ghosts there. The demon, we through various ways was identified by the name, which is a biblical name, Moloch, and that was a demon back in the Bible associated with the Canaanites, and was really keen on sacrificing children to Moloch.
Hold that thought right there. We're going to talk Moloch. We're going to talk demons. We're going to talk other ghosts with Bob Cranmer tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Continue right after this. All right, my friend, we're good. 5 minutes.
Okay. How much longer do we go, do you think?
You and me have another hour.
Okay.
Yeah, man. It's going to be good. So when were you in public office? What years?
From 19 92 to 2000.
Ah, right in the heart of Mario and the Stanley Cups.
Oh, yeah. Built a stadium for the Steelers and a baseball park for the Pirates.
I've seen those.
Convention center.
I've seen those.
Yeah, PNC Park. That's the best field in baseball.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Built it on budget. Everything is pretty amazing. And in record time, too.
That's such a beautiful area. Last time I was in Pittsburgh, I actually took the what do they call those duck boats? Those old military boats that travel.
Duckies,
rivers.
Just Ducky
Yeah, the
tours.
Duckies. The Duckies. Yeah, we took that tour. It was pretty cool, man.
I've never done that. Would see them all the time,
Oh yeah,
filled with tourists going down the street.
Yeah, that was me.
And I understand they're really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool, man. Really cool. I just, honestly, I think you have a beautiful city there. I've been there for what?
It is.
Times? I've been there 4 times now.
Yeah, when we built the stadiums and convention center, it was like a watershed event.
Yeah.
It started development of the city that has continued since, and it really just remade the whole city into something much different from what it had been, and attracted a lot of West Coast technology research firms and Google and Amazon, and really the robotics center for autonomous vehicles is based in Pittsburgh. All the research, so. Healthcare. It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
Well, Bear's head office.
I'm happy to.
Bear's head office is there too, right?
Yeah, I guess it still is. I know Bear had been there. In fact, years ago, I worked for AT&T, and I was a national account manager for Bear. That's out by the airport. I don't know if it's still there or not, but. Yeah, for years it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I had some good friends. They live in Beaver County in that area.
Yeah, near the airport.
Yeah. Yeah, and they put on a big fireworks display every year out there. Blow up the old suspension bridge with fireworks every year.
Yeah, down in Pittsburgh, the big one they do is the Three Rivers Regatta always has the big fireworks display. Yeah. And
well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful city. I'm happy to have been I worked very closely with the mayor of Pittsburgh at the time and one of my other commissioners, and we put together the plan that built those stadiums and the convention center, and everyone was mad and all that stuff. We really put together a great deal. I mean, a great deal. Where the teams put a lot of money in, and they weren't over budget or anything. I mean, it was really didn't have to raise taxes or anything. We got it all done, but still people get all worked up.
Of course,
it changed. It really changed the city.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. How many people fit in that football stadium? 70,000.
Well, initially it was 62. And they increased it to about 75 now. I think, about 75. They added more seats and over 70 at least. It's not the size of Penn State, Penn State Stadium, but it's good. It's a nice stadium.
I've never been to an NFL game.
You have not? No.
No, that's one of the big.
I have season tickets. I've had them for years. I haven't gone to a football game long time. My kids take them.
All right, hold on, boss.
The official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
All right, music's about to come on. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you all with us. My name is Dave Scott. I am your host of this wildly woeful show. Want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Bob Cranmer joins us. Talks about the Demon of Brownsville Road, what it's like to have a demon come into your house, ruffle things up, maybe shove a few people, and decide to leave when its time was right. Bob, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right.
Happy to be here.
Oh, I'm glad you're here too. All right. Getting back to this demon, okay, and the history of it. I mean, this is a pretty morbid type of demonic entity that was stationed in your house, man.
Yeah, it was powerful too, and its whole MO goes along with its name, Moloch, which the biblical, the Canaanites, they're the people that the Israelites, after they came out of Egypt, drove out of the Holy Land. Their religion, their practice in worshiping Moloch was to sacrifice infant boys, young male babies, and burn them into this god. And they've unearthed hundreds of these little vases filled with the bones of burnt babies that would be sacrificed, by the hundreds to this god, which was really bad stuff. I mean, it's evil. So, as I outline in the book, what I feel, what initiated this possession was really a possession of the land that the house was built on. Back in the late 1790s, the late 1780s, early 1790s, after the American Revolution had concluded and the United States was a new country. Pittsburgh was the frontier, was the western edge of the 13 colonies, and was a very key city because the Ohio River, which is formed by the Monongahela and the Allegheny, was a major highway, basically going west. Flows eventually all the way to Illinois to the Mississippi, and the rivers then were the highways of the day. Streams and rivers were how people traveled great distances. So to move into the West, to move into Ohio, and to move into those territories to the west of the colonies, that river was important. So after the British had basically had a treaty with the Native Americans, that the Ohio River and that area was off limits to settlement, really any area west of the Allegheny Mountains. But the new government, the United States, needed money. George Washington was president, so they began to sell this land, which is now Ohio and so on, to settlers. So they began this great influx of people. The Native Americans said, hey, you know what? This is our country. We didn't sign any treaty in Paris, and you guys stay over where you're at, and this is our country. So there was the first major war that the United States was involved in, and for a couple of years, they really got their clock claimed. Really serious military defeats, and the frontier was pushed right up to Pittsburgh. Fort Pitt was reactivated, and I'm telling you all this because our house, where it is like 6 miles from where Fort Pitt was. It's on a road. Brownsville Road was the major road into Pittsburgh at the time from all points south. And as what we can gather, there was a settlement, a homestead there, and a woman and her 3 daughters were this being out of character, because the Native Americans generally didn't bother with women and children. They would take them hostage. They wouldn't kill them, but they killed this woman and her 3 daughters, her 3 children, as an act of terror. You know, you bring your family over the river and you bring them here, you know, not only are you going to die, your family's going to die. And so the bodies are buried in what is now our front yard. And we feel that you know, these warriors would pray to their spirits to give them courage and victory, and get them all worked up to be great fighters, and that whatever spirit that was associated with that murder of those children and their mother attached itself to the land, because later on the house would be built there, and during the 1920s and 30s, we found out that it was an illicit, illegal abortion clinic where hundreds of babies were extinguished and killed. And that room that my son slept in is where it all took place. And then, you know, later my own children that were victimized by this thing, it was all about hurting and killing children. And I told you about the chair in front of the stove, as we later found out that they would actually take the remains of aborted children, those that were maybe developed to an extent, and they would burn them in the coal stove to eliminate the remains that were left. And the guy that did it apparently sat in a chair and did that. So it's a long, convoluted story that kind of makes sense, and it's really grim, and it's not a nice story. And I can, you know, or there's still spirits in the house, and I've taken pictures. You know, I even caught this thing on film, on a picture. Our dog, we had a golden retriever cocker spaniel mix, and he would sit outside rooms and bark, and I knew he could see the thing. And he would go into like a pointing stance. I call it his terminal stare. And one time during the blood episode on the walls, I was actually taking pictures. This was before camera phones. I had a regular camera, and I was taking pictures of this blood on the wall. And I came down, and I looked at the dog, and I saw him staring up at me, and he was in his terminal stare pose. And I held the camera right in front of me, and I took a picture, and there it was right in front of me. And you know why you can see these entities on film when you can't see them with your naked eye. You know, there's something that doesn't translate in your mind, but animals apparently can see them. And sometimes, for those that are familiar with orbs and taking pictures in various, you know, haunted battlefields and haunted houses, and you see these orbs, I've taken pictures in the basement of the house and seen literally hundreds of orbs in particular places. And I think they represent the spirits of so many children that were killed there.
Bob Cranmer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Why stay? I mean, I realize it's your home, and you know, it's your dream home. You've wanted to be there for a long time. Yes, you went through this. Yes, it's over now. But I mean, with such a horrid and tumultuous history, why stay?
Well, you know what? After I wrote the book, and especially locally, how popular it was, and the book's been very successful. Who's gonna buy it? You know, so because even though the house is cleansed from the evil, it still had this reputation. You know, people would come by and take pictures, and you know, I'm reading the book and this and that, and so I found myself a few years ago, after I was divorced, and my children are all gone, living in the house all by myself. And I lived up on the third floor in the little apartment, and house is clean. It's fine. You know, it's, my grandkids come and stay and so on. So I thought, well, I'm not going to put it on the market. First off, a big old house like this, you know, it's so big. It's not like a family is going to buy it. I never should have bought it to begin with. It's just too big. And it's from another era. You know, it had servants' bells and servants' steps and all that stuff, like Downton Abbey or something. And so I just decided, okay, I had the money to invest, and I converted it into a bed and breakfast. And it's beautiful. And we opened the beginning of the year, and we have a lot of people come to stay there because they read the book and they want to stay in the Blue Room. Or we have a lot of people come from out of state that have no idea there is a book, and they're just looking for a neat place to stay. And we didn't pick exactly the best year or time to open up, considering this COVID situation. But we're doing okay. I'm surprised. I mean, people really enjoy the stay there. I have it fixed up very nice, and folks that come that are familiar with the book, they get all jazzed up about it. It's as long as they don't bring Ouija boards with them or anything like that. So,
oh, you don't like the Ouijas?
I don't want. I don't want to stir anything up. We have a process we go through maybe once a year, where we go through and bless the house and kind of preventive maintenance, so to speak. I think there still may be a ghost there, which is benign, not evil or anything. But the demonic stuff was scary. I don't want that coming back. And for now, it's a nice place. I mean, we have people coming all the time from all over different states, from Florida, from New York, and everyone enjoys it.
But that's a good thing. I mean, the fact is, you've been able to turn a bad experience into a little bit of paranormal tourism for yourself. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and to say, well, he went through and made this whole. First of all, the book itself has so many people other than me that were well known that are in the book. I mean, the Diocese of Pittsburgh went public with the story 8 months before the book was ever published. And there was a big 3-night news report with the diocese about the book and about what happened. They wanted to get in front of the story, but they absolutely verified everything in the book is true. The diocese was involved, and so that really puts a lid on naysayers to an extent, unless people that have a problem with the Catholic Church. But the former mayor of Pittsburgh is in it. There were a lot of non-family members who testified and verified as to what took place. Now, to say, well, hey, he had a bed and breakfast in mind all along. I mean, this happened almost, how long ago? It ended in 2006. So, I mean, we're approaching 20 years. I certainly didn't think at that point in time I'd be where I am today, with the bed and breakfast and everything. And again, not that it's some gigantic money maker either. I mean, I make enough money to pay the taxes and so on. And so, I mean, it's just a good use for the house, and I enjoy it, and the people who come enjoy it as well. And if there is a movie, it'd be that much better.
Bob Cranmer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, talking about his haunted house. Bob, you've been living this now for 15 years, let's say. Okay, close to it.
Yeah, exactly, sure.
Okay. Now that it's over, so to speak, never mind the bed and breakfast or anything like that, but now that it's over, why still talk about it? Is it because you personally have been that affected by it, or it's just a really cool topic of conversation when it comes up?
Well, I mean, I wrote the book, I said, because I want to tell a story. There's a purpose for the book. It's just not a scary story. I think there's a moral to the story. I think it's a message of the supernatural, but it's also a message of God. It's a good message that good can defeat evil. And I think that, that's the purpose. It's, I said it's almost akin to a ministry. I enjoy talking about victory, the victory of good over evil. And I think that the story will continue even after I'm gone and I'm dead, and people will still be interested in it. And I think for these trying times that we live in, so much evil in the world, it kind of, as I said, makes sense that evil isn't always, bad character or bad characters. There is evil influences that prompt and encourage people to do evil things. And so that's why I continue to talk about it. I talk for the glory of God and Christ crucified. I believe in all that. And, I saw the proof of it, and I saw the bent crosses and crosses broken in half and the rosary beads. That happened for a reason.
Okay, so it is a part of your life, and it is a part of your personal legacy now, just like my own stories are mine, and that's kind of why I do this silly show that we do on a nightly basis here. Do you have regrets? Do you wish your life had not come down this path?
Well, I certainly look back on what this did to me personally. I mean, it affected my marriage. It affected my family. It affected me. It was a war. It was a battle. And I think it was one I was prepared for. When I look at the story and I tell the story of how I was attracted to this house from my earliest memories as a child. It was kind of destiny. I was destined to go there, but this thing was there then. And so I was destined to go to war and get beat up and come out of it bruised up and with wounds and scars, but ultimately with the victory. I did my duty. I was a military officer. My father was a military officer, and I do my duty, and that was what I had to do, and I saw it through, and I'm proud of it from the standpoint of what was accomplished. I was a vessel that was used. Certainly wasn't me and my power, but I was an instrument that was used in the process.
It was your path.
I think of ministers, I think of ministers that talk to the same people every week, week in and week out about this. And I think of the thousands of people around the world. I mean, there were specials that went on Russian TV about this story a few years back. I mean, I've done interviews in Great Britain and, overseas, and I've seen one of the programs translated into Chinese. It's a message that's reached around the world, and it's an intriguing story, and it has a strong moral to it.
No kidding. You mentioned the religious aspect of everything, and we've got about just under 4 minutes to go here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. How did this bring you closer to your own understanding of spiritualism, your religion, your God, everything?
Well, as time has gone by, you would think, I'd be some kind of a minister or something, Really, I think I'm less of a church-going guy today than I was in the past. I don't know how many times in the past, in my younger days, I read the Bible over and over again. I can recite it. I pretty much know all the stories and can go to them. Am I really religious like that today after my experiences, after my marriage breaking up and so on? I'm wounded, and my faith has been tested, but I still know all this happened, and it's true. And if my piece of it was to put it down, my experience in this book as it happened, truthfully, and to do interviews like this for as long as I can, if that's my role, I'll do it. I don't try to come across as some kind of evangelist or anything. I try to come across as just a credible witness to something that truly happened. And I am convinced, without a shadow of a doubt, that, it was good and evil. It was God and the devil. And it's the only explanation for it. And I believe that, and I tell the story.
We've got just about 90 seconds here before we got to go to break. Is this something that you're going to continue for a while? And your children, do they want to continue it as well?
Well, they're not. Certainly, they don't. I know my one son has done interviews and so on, and because he's a prominent figure in the book, and he's still somewhat of an angry. He has that kind of that same disposition. He sees this as a little different than I did because it affected him differently. He wasn't part of the battle. The funny thing was, the son I lost was the one who was least affected by what happened in the house. And he really didn't have any negative mental issues, and he kind of kept his head through the whole thing. So that's odd. He even at one point tried to help us and join the team with the priests. As far as I go, as long as people are interested in the book and interested in the story, and people like you want to hear about it, I'll talk about it, because again, it's true. I'm not talking about Bigfoot or anything like that. And this is true. This happened. I went to great lengths to describe it. It's credible, and I think some people get very angry because I think it challenges either what they believe or maybe what they don't believe, and they finish the book and they're angry because they feel challenged by it. But nonetheless, the book is what it is, or it reaffirms the faith of some people, and they get excited about it.
Bob, you hold on right there. We are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We have Bob Cranmer for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, talking about what it's like to live with a demon. Then we're going to get to the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned. More Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. All right, my friend, I'll be right back. I'm just going to run my dogs out again.
Okay, we'll do. Good.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world. relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightline Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get bumblefucked?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajons.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chide and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio?
Friend, I'm back.
Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
2 o'clock in the morning here. I'm still doing okay.
You know what? My first time ever to Pittsburgh or to that area, I'd never seen fireflies before. I was 35 years old. I was 35 years old, wow. And I'd never seen fireflies before. And I was just absolutely tripping out because I had had a couple of beers with my buddies. And we were standing on their patio, and I'm like, what's that? And they're like, what's what? I'm like, that flashy green thing. And they're like, what are you talking about? And there would be nothing. Then all of a sudden, they'd turn their head around again, and I'd be looking out towards the yard. That right there, and it'd be gone by the time they turned back. This went on for about 10 minutes. And all of a sudden they saw it. They're like, that's a firefly, man. He goes, lightning bugs? I'm like, I'd never seen them before.
Yeah.
Dude, I went running around the yard trying to catch one of these things. I looked like a stupid little kid running around trying to catch them. I'd never seen them before.
Yeah. There used to be a lot more of them, it seemed, when I was a kid. We used to get them. You put 5 or 10 of them in a glass jar, and they're all lighting up. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I could imagine that. Then you watch the frogs eat them, and they're like lighting up inside the frog. That's kind of cool.
I never heard of that, but yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. We got 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Fireflies. First time there I ever heard wild turkeys too. I'd never seen them. Oh, but I heard them. I ended up seeing one in Massachusetts, standing on right in the middle of the highway.
Yeah, there are a lot of them around here. Even in residential areas, you'll see them. That and deer.
Yeah, we got a ton of deer here. 25 seconds.
Okay.
All right, my friend, 10 seconds. Excuse me.
The SOR 2019 at mightymoosebeard.com.
Okay,
today.
Here we go. Music is on.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you all here. I am Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to do so. I want to remind you that I want to thank everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across the continent and on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio digitally. Always, our archives are free at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Mnemonics. Mnemonics is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Guess what? We got a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Rocking out to Bumblefoot, that's always a good thing, too. Always remember, we are on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Bob Cranmer. Why? Because he's got a freaky story about the Demon of Brownsville Road. It's his book that can be found on Amazon and in any major bookstore, and it's about living in a house that had a demon in it. Yes, he stayed right through. Bob, what was it like when all of a sudden the demon was gone?
I didn't believe it, really. Was kind of having for a number of months post-traumatic stress syndrome. Even though after the final encounter, when I felt, I thought, how's this going to end? Some big dramatic bolt of lightning or something, but really, it really ended like a blazing fire that eventually just burned itself out, and this thing just withered away, and it was over. And it ended in the basement. One of the priests and I, Father Mike, kind of had it cornered in what had been a room, this coal storage room. And when it was over, I took a cross. We had just celebrated Mass in the basement, and I put the cross right where it had been. But after that, knowing, everything that I had experienced, every time something was out of place, every time that something seemed to be not right, I would just think that it was back, that it was still there. Naturally, I would be on edge all the time, and for years, I would still always sleep with the door open to the out hallway, just to make sure I was sleeping, to try to keep an eye on things, or at least an ear on things. It took probably a year or so before I finally was able to settle down. I remember talking to a guy who wrote a book called Beware the Night. It was pretty famous. Police officer in New York City that wrote about the demonic, and they made a movie out of it. And he told me finally, listen, you just need to decompress and settle down and just understand that this thing is gone, or it's going to drive you crazy. And I did that finally, and slowly I over a period of years kind of got my wits about me and was able to live in the house peacefully. But that took some time.
When you talk about the fear of it coming back, I mean, noticing that you probably had some sort of PTSD because of it, did you ever, think you were hearing voices or seeing apparitions around of this being?
You mean after the fact?
Yeah.
No, I never. I always, because it used to play these little stupid games, as I said, like with coins and things. When I would find something that seemed to be really out of place and shouldn't be like that, someone had to have done it. I'd always look for a natural explanation, and generally always would find it. But nothing ever in your face happened because it was gone. So it wouldn't have, and it didn't. So we never saw anything after that, and the dog never reacted the way it used to, and our cat even would. I can remember our cat. It was the strangest thing. It knew it. There was a time period where it would at night lay across the door of my wife of our bedroom, right the doorway, and it would stretch out right across the doorway like it was protecting us in some way. It's oddest things like that would happen. So the animals after the fact were fine. The kids eventually came back down to earth again, and we moved on. Now, when I started writing the book, probably in 2007, 2008, and I started going through all of my notes and doing my best to put together what had happened into a coherent story, and also, laying out what I felt was a kind of a long, drawn out several chapters of a preface to me and who I was and how I came to, have the personality that I have and who my parents were and so on. Because again, people want to know. It takes kind of a strange guy to be able to do that. Say, well, this guy is egotistical. Well, yeah, I do. I confess, I do have an ego, but that's not always a bad thing. You can use it for good and accomplish things, and I did. I mean, I saw through the thing and through the situation, and was able to write a book, and it's a good book, and it has a strong message, and I got it published, and it's gotten a lot of publicity, and people all around the world have read it, and ultimately I think it's going to, it has a strong underlying message to it, just not a scary story. It has God in it.
Now, your own personal faith, has it brought you closer to God?
Well, it's brought me closer to God from the standpoint of knowing that God exists and knowing the power of God. My losing my son the way I did, rocks you when you lose a child, and especially as I pointed out, suicide is the worst situation, and then to have that deeply affects many times a marriage, and that being married for almost 40 years and that ending, took its toll on me. And, I was not a Catholic when I started this. I'd left the Catholic Church. I'd left church altogether as a teenager, as many people did. But then, I came and became an evangelical Christian and knew the Bible and, did all that Bible thumping stuff in my younger days. But when I came through, when I went to the pastor of our Baptist church at the time, when I knew things were really bad and I told him what was happening, his response basically was, "What do you want me to do?" And when I ended up with the Catholic Church and they began to help me, and you come through a war with people and you really come to understand that all that Catholic hocus pocus, the incense and the holy water and blessed candles and the Eucharist and the Mass and the prayers and the rosary, it's all powerful stuff. It's real. It works. I'm telling you, it all works. So I come out of that. I'm a Catholic. Okay. I'm a devout Catholic. I believe, and the Catholic Church stood by me, and it really helped me, and stood by me when I wrote the book. But then, over the past few years and all this abuse stuff that has come out, it really kind of tests your faith, and me, like many thousands of Catholics, really start to question what that's all about, and so I'm in a holding pattern. Well, right now, I go to church online because of the COVID situation, but yeah, sure, I go to church and I still have faith, and I have a relationship with Jesus Christ. He's my Savior, and that's apart from church. And we went through a war together, and I won because of it. And I had an experience not many people get to have. I like to say that the 12 disciples the apostles had a special faith. They saw Jesus raise people from the dead and walk on water, and that's kind of the way I feel. I've seen some pretty amazing and experienced some pretty amazing things, and the Bible says, "To whom much is given, much will be expected." So I hope I have responded in the correct way and in testifying to what I've seen and what I know to be true, and I'll continue to do that.
How much have you delved into the paranormal since? Because with the advent of social media and everything over the years, the paranormal has really taken off in popularity, especially, like I said, social media, television shows. What's your thoughts of the field now?
Well, I watch, I never really got into it too much, but, I have I have a fiance. I'm going to get remarried, and she, who's younger than me, kind of was into all that ghost stuff. And so I naturally watched a number of those programs. And I can't help but think that some of that stuff, like, okay, so I watched the Dead Files and so on, and I watch situations that are somewhat similar to what we experience, but what we experience and instances of possession are extremely rare. Someone who is possessed by a demon is rare. A place that is possessed by a demon is rare. And there you turn on these TV, and every week they have another episode of some house that's possessed by a demon. I just can't imagine that they would be finding that many instances of house and possession and so on by the demonic entities. I mean, it makes for good television. As I said, I see a lot in those programs that kind of is in my book. I can't help but think that maybe there's some people are writing a lot of that, but and then some of the other things are just kind of outrageous. You have these guys that are yelling and screaming and hunting ghosts and so on, and it's kind of out of hand. But that's television. That's what people watch, and that's what sells soap, so to speak.
I've had other experiencers, much like you, on this show before. And the biggest mistake that they felt they met was they didn't do their research on paranormal teams. They went to Google, they saw a team that was close, and they were kind of like, okay, that seems pretty good, let's bring them in. And it just ended up causing more harm than good.
More problems.
Did you
more problems?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I've heard that, and because interest in a subject doesn't make you an expert, I mean, there's a reason that the Catholic Church, when it comes to this type of situation with demons, now ghost hunters, that's a whole separate situation. You want to go out and prove that the place is haunted, okay. Try to get rid of the ghost. That's a different situation. But when you're dealing with the demonic, it's kind of akin, I say, it's like someone that diffuses bombs. It's not a hobby you should have. It can be very dangerous. It can have a serious impact. I think poor old Ryan Buell in Paranormal State, I mean, he had a lot of problems after that program, and other people. There's a reason that the Catholic Church has very, very detailed and structured rituals. There's a reason that they will train only like one priest in a diocese or a whole area whose job it is to deal with the demonic. They have to be trained, and they have to go, through different experiences with another senior exorcist to learn how to do it. It's very detailed, and you're going to have some, young 20-year-old that is buddy down the street. And I remember last year we have a 4th of July parade, and there was some group walking along handing out cards that they were, paranormal investigators, and they can do all this stuff. It's kind of absurd. So my recommendation is if you have a real serious, and you can tell when people are getting hurt and it's dangerous, you need to seek out professional help, people that understand this. Sometimes it's hard to find them, though, even in the Catholic Church. There are a lot of priests that don't even believe in this stuff. And it has to be somebody who knows what they're doing. And I've had people come to me to ask me to do it. I certainly understand it, and I know enough to keep my house clean, but it's not something I really want to delve into again, because it's taxing on you. It's dangerous, and it's not a hobby. It's certainly not a hobby someone should have.
Did you, or
it's a ministry?
Okay. Do you still have a lot of people in ghost teams coming up to you and saying, "Hey, we want to come up there. We want to do an investigation"? I've had people. I've had television programs like Ghost Hunters and so on want to come to the house to do investigations, to see if they can find a ghost and so on. I've turned them down. I don't want anyone coming to stir anything up. I don't want you to come and search for ghosts. I will be interviewed on shows. I'll tell the story and so on, but I don't want anyone coming in the house searching for ghosts. I've always turned them down cold. Even, I had a father and son team that they were putting together something. The guy has some kind of a YouTube channel that is very popular, and they were going around the country to different haunted places. I said, you can come here and talk to me, but I don't want you taking any EVP meters or anything like that out. I just don't want it. So I try to keep a lid on it. And if those folks want to, it's interesting if they want to just
seek out ghosts. That's one thing. But the problem is when you're dealing with a ghost, you can come across a demon too. I mean, that's when you start playing with Ouija boards and calling out spirits and so on. You're asking for trouble. I mean, you can ask for long-term trouble because those spirits can attach themselves to you in different ways and then go home with you, so to speak. It's not a hobby. I would recommend it as a hobby.
When you tell people, even paranormal investigators, about your story, and they get all hot to trot about everything because they're, I want to come here, I want to come there. What's the attitude when you say, yeah, we just don't do that anymore. We're out of that kind of game. I mean, the paranormal community can be fickle at best at times. So I'm just curious, what's the reaction you get from the paranormal community when you tell them, yeah, we're not doing those types of tours anymore?
Well, yeah, I never really did any kind of tours. I mean, I just had a conversation with some folks who came to book the place for next month for a wedding party, and she had read the book and so on, and she was bringing all her bridesmaids, and they were kind of excited because they knew about the house. And I said, listen, I'm telling you, no Ouija boards, none of that stuff here. And she's, oh, no, we understand. Okay, no, we would never do that. We'd never do that. So I haven't had a lot of folks. I guess my son has people saying, can we come to the house and try this out and that? But I always just give the same response. Listen, it's done. It's over. It's a story. It's a book. There's a conclusion to it. And it's nothing, nothing to see here, folks. Move along, so to speak.
Do you still, as we got about 90 seconds left, do you still wonder if it'll ever come back, or maybe a different portal will open in the house and here you go again? Is that still a concern?
It's a concern. And as I said, there's still a ghostly component. Occasionally, there'll be some type of a ghostly event. As I said, I go through and there's a hours long ritual I go through that really clamps down and puts a lid on all that stuff. Is the evil going to come back? I don't believe so. I believe that this story has concluded. I believe that this story stands as a testimony to the power of God. And I just don't see, we pray that angels surround the property and protect it. And, not that they wouldn't try. But I think that demon, was sent, to wherever those demons go when they lose their ground, so to speak. I'm sure it's not a good thing.
No kidding. Where can people find your book?
Well, the bookstores all had it at one point. It's been, 6 years now. I know books, I'm sure they probably still have some, but mainly I point people to either, barnesandnoble.com. We have a website called, www.demonofbrownsville.com. On there are links to all the television programs, to Barnes & Noble, to Amazon, to a Facebook page, to a Wikipedia page that tells you a lot of details about the book. And even now, there's a link to the bed and breakfast.
Perfect. Bob Cranmer, everyone, on Spaced Out Radio. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned as we look to take this home. Bob, thank you so much. We're going to give you a little bit of a clap there. Good job staying up late.
Sure.
Really do appreciate that, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yep. I'll
let you get to sleep.
To you,
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Good night.
Good guy. Good guy. You know, I will say this. You know, anybody who bitches at him for making a buck and making it a bed and breakfast now, out of their mind. Out of their mind. I don't understand that. Hi, Greco. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Renee. Hi, Jules. Hi, Jenny. Thanks for the clown, Marty. Thank you. Thank you. Telling you, today doesn't feel like a Monday. It feels like a Monday, if you know what I mean. Does that even make sense? Excuse me. Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's a big truck. That's what I hear. Seriously, hurry up, truck. Go by. Well, it's Tuesday for you because you live in the future, Andrew. Hello, Corinth. Corinth, the booking guy. Like 40 seconds. Rono. Oh, that felt good.
and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
All right, let's do this thing, shall we? Bees Nest. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you from SOR headquarters. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. On Instagram, you can follow us at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Speaking of the news, oh, here it comes. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes depressing for us Canadians. You know, I realize down south that the National Football League is massive. It's very corporate. It's a multi-billion-dollar sport each and every year. Well, up here we have the Canadian Football League. All right? And there's only 9 teams. It's only 3 downs, because up here in Canada, you only need 3 downs to get to 10 yards. All right. But the CFL is a staple in Canadian history and heritage. Now, I don't get political often on this show, but I'm pissed off. The Canadian government is in a scandal, a $912 million scandal right now. They have literally given billions of dollars out, taxpayers' dollars, for out-of-country usage by other countries, by other sources, whatever it may be. Our prime minister has literally increased our debt for the first time to $1 trillion. And they can't find any money to help out one of Canada's longest heritages, the Canadian Football League. The Canadian government decided that they were going to not go through with helping on a loan to get the league going in a shortened season during COVID-19. No, because, you know, Canadian people, especially those in the prairie provinces, you know, don't care about the CFL, and please note the sarcasm. So the CFL has had to cancel its season. For the first time, the Grey Cup will not be presented since 1919. All right. They were hoping to have a hub city in Winnipeg, which would have brought money there, even though they would have played none of the games with fans in the stands. Ottawa said, no, we're just not doing it. We're just not doing it. So now the rest of the country has to suffer. In the meantime, we have a government. You want $1 billion? You're from whatever country or from whatever organization. You want $1 billion? Oh, here, you just take that. Not a problem. The good old Canadian. But not there. Not there. The CFL is the only professional league in North America to shut down and not play any games in 2020. They are talking about bringing back football in 2021. Let's hope so. All right. Let's hope so. The CFL is needed in Canada. All right. It is very needed in order to, you know, keep our communities going and keep things happy. And I'm just upset about that because I'm a big CFL fan, a big BC Lions fan. And there you go. Let's move on, sticking with sports here for a quick second. Here in British Columbia, after families were expecting refunds from the Coquitlam Little League in the lower mainland of British Columbia for canceling the 2020 season and they never got their money back, they started asking questions, raising concerns that they weren't getting any checks. The board of the baseball league discovered nearly $230,000 had vanished from their bank account. In an email to the membership, the board said the balance of the bank account was $229,971.31 on June 9th. By August 3rd, less than $3,000 remained and unpaid bills were beginning to pile up. The board of directors was shocked by these findings, as we expect you are as well to read this. We want to share this information with you as soon as possible, to ask for your patience as this serious matter is being investigated and has been filed as a report with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. As I hope you can understand, as a result of this serious issue, we are unable to offer refunds to our member families at this time. Sandon Fraser, board president, has issued a statement saying the organizers are devastated. The CLL is built on a strong sense of community, and over the past 65 years, we have earned the trust of parents, players, other young people, and members of the public. Today, we are facing a challenging time. I speak for all the board when I say that we are working hard to ensure that we don't lose your trust and support as a result of this serious situation. We are confident that we will find out exactly what happened, how it happened, and why, and that together we will find a way forward. The league has sought legal advice and retained an independent accountant to review the organization's financial records. We will provide updates to our members and to the public when we are able to do so. We are taking every measure to ensure that the RCMP can do their job in investigating this issue. It's terrible. How do you rip off kids? How do you rip off kids? $230,000. Who's the imbecile who did this? Throw them in jail, or them, whoever it may be. Terrible. Terrible. If you got a dog, don't take it to North Korea, because apparently they're ending up on the menu. Yeah, Kim Jong-un, our favorite leader of all time around here, has declared the pets are a symbol of capitalist decadence and ordered that dogs in Pyongyang be rounded up, and owners are fearful that their beloved pets are going to be used to solve the nation's food shortages. Dictator Kim announced in July that owning a pet is now against the law, denouncing having a dog at home as a tainted trend of bourgeois ideology. Authorities have identified households with pet dogs and are forcing them to give them up or forcefully confiscating them and putting them down. Yes, this is terrible. Oh, just disgusting. Some of the dogs are being sent to state-run zoos or sold to dog meat restaurants. A recent UN report stated that as many as 60% of North Korea's 25.5 million people are facing widespread food shortages that have been worsened by international sanctions imposed on the regime for its nuclear missile programs. Dog meat has long been considered a delicacy on the Korean peninsula, although the tradition of eating dogs is gradually fading out in South Korea. Still, an estimated 1 million dogs are reared on farms to be consumed every year in the South. Man's best friend is still a staple on the menu in the North. However, with a number of dedicated dog restaurants in Pyongyang, dog meat is most popular in the hot and humid summer months and is believed to provide energy and stamina. Oh yeah, sure it does. Often served in a spicy soup or stew with vegetables, it is also known for raising the body temperature in the cold winter months. The chosen Ilbo reported that the pet owners are cursing Kim Jong-un behind his back, but there is little they can do about it, because if they refuse to comply with the authorities, they could be interpreted as an act of defiance of the leader, who likes to be referred to as the supreme dignity. The outlawing of pets will also have come to as a surprise to many middle-class Pyongyang residents who began to keep dogs after the regime attempted to spruce up its image in the run-up to the 1989 World Festival of Youth and Students. Embraced as a symbol of economic development and sophistication. Wealthy families would be seen walking their pets, which even made appearances on state-run television soap operas. As recently as October 2018, Kim himself presented a pair of Pungsang indigenous hunting dogs to Moon Jae-in, the South Korean president, as a symbol of the growing détente between the two nations. The peace puppies had a fortunate escape as their move to the south coincided with a demand that ordinary North Koreans pay a tax of dog fur to be turned into coats to mark the foundation of the Workers' Party. Isn't that nice? The country is facing widespread food shortages, aggravated by the decision to close the border with China due to coronavirus. Beijing is traditionally Pyongyang's main supporter and the source of much of the food required to feed Kim's people. North Korea was also hit hard by a number of natural disasters last year, which impacted the harvest, while it had been badly affected by flooding again this month, with crops in key agriculture regions wiped out. Hey, Kim, you're a magician. Just wave your magic wand there or something. Get the people some food. You know, I'm sure there's enough in your palace for that to happen. I'm sure. You're only worth, what, 50 billion? You might be able to spring $1 billion to feed the people. Just saying. Could be an idea. All right. Death Valley in California had a record-breaking day the other day. It could be the highest temperature ever reliably recorded on Earth. 130 degrees Fahrenheit or 54.4 degrees Celsius. The recording is being verified by the National Weather Service. It comes amid a heat wave of the U.S. West Coast, where temperatures are forecast to rise further this week. The scorching conditions have led to 2 days of blackouts in California after a power plant malfunction. It's an oppressive heat, and it's in your face. Brandy Stewart, who works at Death Valley National Park. Ms. Stewart has lived and worked at the national park on and off for 5 years. She spent a lot of time indoors in August because it's simply too uncomfortable to be outside. When you walk outside, it's like being hit in the face with a bunch of hair dryers. She said, you feel the heat and it's like walking into an oven and the heat is just all around you. Yeah, Sunday's reading was recorded at Furnace Creek in Death Valley. Before this, the highest temperature reliably recorded on Earth was 129.2 Fahrenheit or 54 degrees Celsius, also in Death Valley. That was in 2013. A higher reading of 134 degrees Fahrenheit or 56.6 a century earlier, also in Death Valley, is disputed. It is believed by some modern weather experts to have been erroneous, along with several other searing temperatures recorded that summer. According to the 2016 analysis from weather historian Christopher Burt, other temperatures in the region recorded in 1913 do not corroborate the Death Valley reading. Another record temperature for the planet is 131 Fahrenheit or 55 degrees Celsius that was recorded in Tunisia in 1931, but Mr. Burt said the reading, as well as others recorded in Africa during the colonial era, had serious credibility issues. We're arguing about credibility issues over temperature, people. Okay, look, 54 degrees is damn hot, okay? You could cook dinner outside, literally. Just throw it right on the cement, cook dinner. Add a little spice, maybe an ant or two for flavor. All right? We're arguing about weather temperature. That's where we are. We're Karening over it. Can we say that? Karening. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, or Lord, or Lord. You never know who's going to show up on a potato. I'm going to tell you right now, looks more like Matthew, that looks like Phil Collins over Jesus. A woman from Scotland claims she recently spotted something rather odd on the skin of a potato that she bought at a nearby supermarket. Looks nothing like the God's Son, man. However, she claims it's the face of Jesus. No, that's Phil Collins. Right after he left Genesis. Look at the hair on him. Look at the nose and the eyes. I could feel it calling in the potato tonight. Oh, Lord. Nikki Halkerston alleges that she discovered the obvious likeness while unpacking from her weekly trip to the grocery store. I can't even take this story seriously. As soon as I put the packet on the kitchen top, I saw it. I was staring at it. It was just obvious. It was Jesus' face. It was just looking at me. Halkerston added that she only paid about $1.50 for a potato graced with what she believed to be the Lord and Savior. She took several pictures of the potato, which showed off an area where the natural discoloration of the spud skin forms a pattern, perhaps looking like a bearded face. Whether or not that face looks like Jesus or any random rock star. See, I didn't even read this, and it's talking any random rock star from the late 70s. Totally Phil Collins. Totally Phil Collins. All right? I've seen stories about people finding Jesus in their food, but I could never usually see it. This was just so obvious. I called my husband into the kitchen and he says, because he's usually really skeptical, he says he never gets excited about anything, but he agreed it looked like Jesus. Unfortunately, for anyone hoping to catch a glimpse of God's only son, guess what? She ate the potato. Oh my goodness. I'm choking here. She ate Jesus. How do you do that? You got the potato from God and you eat Jesus. I don't get it. I don't get it. You've got to be kidding me. All right, finally tonight, a Chinese restaurant is apologizing for any offense it caused when it placed scales at its entrance and suggested customers weigh themselves to determine what they should order. The Chuyan fried beef location in Changsha, Hunan province said the scales and the menu selections and suggestions were put in place as a response to President Xi Jinping's call for the country to reduce food waste. The two scales were placed at the entrance to the eatery and customers were encouraged to weigh themselves. A guide placed by the scales offered suggestions for food selections and portion sizes for both men and women, depending on their various weight ranges. The move sparked criticism on social media from customers who felt the weight-based initiative encouraged fat shaming. The restaurant said in a post on microblogging site Weibo that it was deeply sorry for any offense it caused by the program. Our intention was not to advocate not wasting food, for people to order in a healthy way. The eatery said the weighing was strictly voluntary. We never forced customers to weigh themselves. Tan Yan, president of the Chuyan fried beef chain, said the scales would remain in place at the Changsha location, but it would be made clear that customers are in no way required to use them. She said officials are considering adding more nutritional information posted in the guide. You got to be kidding me. Bring back the potato. How do you eat that potato? Thought of the day happens every night at this time, where apparently we find a potato, put it on our Facebook page, and then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. What's your thoughts on demons? Nikki, they're real, but they're rare, even though the general population believes otherwise. Russell, demons are a generic term for entities within the super spectrum that frighten us. Keith, Reverend Keith. Love Reverend Keith. I believe demons are the spirits of the Nephilim. They are not fallen angels. They seek to inhabit a physical body to be active, much more, but don't want to go on and on. Anselmo, what? Okay, you read something years ago that the Nephilim are the demons in the spirit realm. I looked it up on a book of Enoch. I'm not sure if I'm wrong or if something had the same thoughts. Well, Reverend Keith believes that too. Ray, they are real, however, don't cause as many problems as the jinn do, and most of the people that come to me have jinn possession. In a very small number have demon possession. Davey, very real. Many people are too easily influenced by their dark machinations and that of their ilk. Oh, very nice word. Very nice use of the word machinations and ilk. That deserves to be commended. Annie, real. That's a great description, Annie. Thank you. We love you. Thank you. Alex, we know the common perception of demons is a combination of Christian mythology where the church embedded demons in the Hollywood version. In that sense, demons are simplistic BS. That said, that's very different than saying that there are discarnate intelligence out there with an agenda of their own that can interact with our reality. Gabe, they're real and nasty as hell. Nice pun there. Michael, demons are the souls of the Anunnaki. I highly doubt that. Debbie, rare but real. Don't listen to fake scripted TV about them or self-claimed demonologists here on Facebook. Becky, from Manitoba, they are real. Melinda, some spirits are just jerks. Bobby, they are the gangsters and the bullies of the astral spiritual realm. Just like there are bad people here, there are bad people there. Robert, very, very real. Don't be misled. But when investigating someone's house, that's one of their first conclusions. And they are misunderstood. Some practices say that they are to be controlled and should be used as minions to do your bidding. I disagree. I think they can be familiars and should be respected. Dendi in South Africa. Hi, Dave. I once encountered a cloaked demon. It was standing in my room. It was rather tall. It had dark eyes, almost like a horse's eyes, which is big and black. When I looked closer, it had the head of the crocodile. Oh, my goodness. Terrible. Devin, demons are multidimensional, malevolent, negative polarity beings that only serve themselves. Okay. And finally, John, I think this should be the final one at least. They shouldn't be allowed to hold public office. Da-dum-dum. Is that okay? Is that okay? I've only ran into one. Thank goodness I divorced her daughter. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to say right there. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave. We will do it all again on Facebook and Twitter tomorrow. Big thank you to Captain Shirk for a wonderful edition of the SOR Newswire, which can be found on our website. And to Bob Cranmer, talking all about demons in the Brownsville house. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody participating in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, LGAB, Spreaker, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, on our website, and of course to all the snarkers and snarkettes hanging out at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. You did a good job tonight. Bravo.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for taking part in your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. That's good stuff, people. Good stuff. Do 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 do. I got flagged on one of our YouTube shows for humming a song like do 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 or I got flagged. Apparently, I was accurate to the tune. Hard to believe, I know. Watch you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. That's good stuff. What do we got tomorrow? Oh, Robert J. Sawyer. I don't know what the hell we're talking about, but it's going to be a damn good show because Corrence, the booking guy, booked it. That's all I know. I'll be right back. All right. I'm back. All right. Let's go here. Drop that into here. All right. Do. Joe, is the fire moving towards your house? Do. Where's my garbage can? Come on. Hello, beautiful Kira. Good to see you here. You might be a tad late for this one. Just saying. Baby, Chris Mo. Yeah, you don't go to sleep now, Joe. Joe, do you have your hairbrushes packed? That's what we need to know. Are the mains brushes packed? How does the music start? Around there? I don't even know. Playback. Mnemonics is your password. Use it wisely. Here we go with hour number.
Back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Didn't do enough. So here, right there. There we go. Now we got her all under control. Good night, Susan. Why can't we Skype this, Ron? Because we don't do the Skype thing. That's why. All right, editing is done. Now where is my video? Where's the audio editor? There it is. Oh, it's a beautiful photo. It's a beautiful photo. Can I show it, Joe? Can I show your main? Do you mind? I am waiting to see if I could show Joe's picture. It's up to him. As soon as Joe says yes, I will do it. I've got it ready. Come on, Joe. Let me show the mane. All right. That's what I was waiting for. Type in here, oob. All right. Ladies, be prepared. This is the greatest hair that I could never compete with. Hold on, I gotta make it smaller. Gotta make it smaller. Look at that mane, people. Look at that mane. Look at that beautiful, gorgeous mane. Huh? Look at that hair, everyone. There is no way I could have ever competed with that. No way. Yeah. Yeah, how do you compete with that? Joe was my inspiration through the whole hair growth process. Look at that hair. Gorgeous hair. Yep. Have another hit, Ron. You'll be just fine. I gotta find yours. Hold on. Did you send it to me on Twitter? Where did you send it to me? I can't seem to find you. can't seem to find it. Weird. Oh, that's why I don't have it on this computer. Hold on. I have to download here. For fuck's sakes. Yeah, send it to the Spaced Out Radio one, Julie. I can't access that one right now. All right, enough drooling over Joe's mane. Here we go. Gorgeous. Makes me jealous. All right, share this folder. There we go. All downloaded. And on that note, I'm going to bed. I'm going to go stare up at the stars. And then I'm going to go out and head off to bed. Because I am tired and I'm going to feel hungover tomorrow from my half migraine that I had. So you guys stay awesome. Tomorrow night we got Robert J. Sawyer tomorrow night. Could be a gooder. So make sure you guys be here.